What is up, everybody? This is Ingram, one of the mind crafters. I can barely say my own name. This is episode 4 of Let's Build an Airship. And today, or in episode 4, which is long overdue, I had to buy a new hard drive to actually store all these episodes. We are going to finally get this baby to be able to fly interdimensionally. Actually, that's a lie. We're going to be able to power it, and the powers can survive interdimensionally. But we're going to be able to fly virtually indefinitely. And we're going to build 2 power plants, one on the ship, and you can use the second power plant, which is going to be built on the ground, to power the one in the ship. So that's where you get the interdimensional, because you could technically build a power plant in the overworld and fly around in the Nether if you're into that sort of thing, or perhaps Twilight Forest, or a mystcrafted, or whatever you want. So what we're going to do, see all these lines. I had this whole episode recorded, and then I went to add the lines for you, and Camtasia crashed, so I have to re-record. But these lines represent chunks, and this is going to be important. Let's see if we can get all the chunk boundaries here. I'm just going to fly a little bit. See this area here? See these lines? There's a couple different pillars here, but these are 16 blocks by 16 blocks. This one kind of goes off the screen, and then there's another one over here. Those are chunks, and what you need to do is when we're going to build a power plant on the ground, we need to make sure that the entire thing stays loaded all the time. So the way that we currently have it, I was going to kind of come out of our little array here and into this side over here, is not actually optimal, because one part of it over here would be in a separate chunk, and that means we have to load more than one chunk, and we don't really want to do that. We want to be able to put a chunk loader maybe right about here and have it keep all this loaded. That keeps our solar panels loaded, that keeps everything loaded, which means if we go really far away, our power plant will stay online. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this stuff here, and what I was doing there is, if we grab a solar panel really quick, because this has got to be symmetrical and got to be even. There's like a lot of asymmetry going on here right now. But what we're going to want to do is put a bunch of battery boxes. Hey. And these are going to store power, obviously. And then we'll come out of the middle. Oh my goodness, this is not symmetrical. But anyway, we're going to come out of the middle. We're just going to run some quick blue alloy wire. And make sure, again, that we're staying inside this chunk. Our chunk boundary is actually right here. You know what? Let me come out of this side, and I'll show you why, because we're going to be running this thing lengthwise. But this is going to be our power plant. It's going to be kind of ugly, but it's going to do the trick. So what's going to happen, the reason I did this is because this power plant is going to need to recharge batteries quickly, and so it's going to use a lot of power to do that. So we have this bank of battery boxes that we're going to use, and they can pump electricity through that wire. But in case we are either in the middle of the day or running out of power in these guys, we're going to take input directly from our solar panels, which is why I left this little avenue here with a little piece of Blulectric wire. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to put, you know what, actually if we move this one step, we can save a lot of wiring. So what we'll do is we'll put our battery box right here. This is going to be the one that we're going to use to build the regeneration system on the ground. A little bit of a note about how battery boxes work. You'll notice that there's 2 squares right here, and each of them take a battery. You can put a battery right in there, but they do different things based on where you put them. If you put one in the bottom, it'll drain energy from the battery and put it into the battery box. If you put one in the top, it'll drain energy from the battery box and put it into the battery. And you can see these little arrows right here? They will help indicate what in the world is going on. So if you put something down here, it's going to follow that same arrow. It's going to take from the battery and put it into the battery box. Now what we're going to be doing on the ground here is actually to take things from the battery box and from our solar panels back here, our arrays over here. We're going to take all that power and dump it into the battery, and so the battery has to go on the top. So we're going to hook up some pneumatic tubes. These are from the Red Power mod also. Everything here that we're using, I think, so far is from the Red Power mod. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab a sorting machine. We're going to try and, without breaking the ground, oh well, we're going to slap this guy like that. And I have my trusty grass because I keep breaking the ground as a habit. What this is going to do is we're going to hook this up. I have right here an ender chest that I colored blue, blue, blue to indicate that we're dealing with bluetricity, and we're going to have all of our, oh, there's from the last time I did this setup before I lost all that video file. All of our batteries are going to be in this chest that's blue, 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 right? And you can mark that, just grab some lapis lazuli or lazuli, or however in the world you say it. And if you see these little hit boxes, see that little, just slap the lazuli, tomato, tomato on there and color this puppy up. And what we're going to do is we're going to slap this guy right under here. This sorting machine right here is going to take empty batteries out of this ender chest. It's going to grab them. I'm just going to reset here. It's going to grab empty batteries and pump them into the top of the battery box. Once they're in the top of the battery box, they're going to get recharged. And then our other system's going to take and actually pull them out and stick them back in the chest. And we're going to have the same exact chest up in our spaceship up there, our airship, and it will now have a steady supply of recharged batteries. So to hook this up, we're going to actually use a retrievulator, which is this guy right here, and a retriever, which is this guy right here. And this retrievulator will actually send a redstone signal to this guy. This guy is going to be requesting batteries that have been recharged by our battery box over here. They're going to come down our tube network. Let me actually figure that, or fill that in, so that this makes a little bit more sense. Okay, now let me back up here. Let me start drawing again. So an empty battery is going to come from our spaceship over here. It's going to come into our ender chest, right? This guy right here, this sorting machine, is going to notice the empty battery. It's going to pull it out, and it's going to inject it into the top of the battery box. Then the battery box is going to recharge the battery, and then this retrievulator is going to notice that now, hey, there is a recharged battery, so it's going to signal the retriever, and the retriever is going to yank the recharged battery out of the top of the battery box all the way down these tubes into itself, push it through the retriever, through the retrievulator, and back into the ender chest. So we will take empty ones out, recharge them, and put the recharged ones back in the ender chest. And that recharged one is then going to be grabbed by our spaceship high in the sky. This is our ship, and it will have a recharged battery. So let us just set the system up. In order to do this, we have to put into, actually we have to first make sure everything has blue electric power, which I just slapped a piece of blue electric wire. This is jacketed so that it can stand up on its own. And now we can see that our sorting machine has power. So the sorting machine, if you remember, is going to get empty ones, and empty ones are the ones that stack. That's why I was talking about that before. Otherwise they look identical, but they'll stack. So if I put an empty one in here, and then we're going to make sure that this sorting machine over here, turn it to rotating redstone mode. See, it grabbed that, boom, boom, boom. It's going into the top of the battery box. And now the battery box is going to charge this guy up. I'm just going to get these a couple here. Now our retrievulator needs to be set up. If you don't know anything about how these work, basically they have a request side and a trigger side, or a target, or a basically it will look, if I put something in square one here, it will look in the chest that it's connected to on this T, right? It'll look in for an item, and as long as it does not have the required item, it will send out and request the matching slot item. That really didn't make any sense, but watch. If I put a bluetricity battery that's fully charged in the request side, and then my target, I'm just going to actually say, I'm just going to trick it and say, look for a red wool panel. And basically what I'm telling the system, let me just turn it to noontime here. what I'm telling this retrievulator to do, oh wait, we're just going to watch it actually work here. There goes that fully recharged battery coming in, ta-da, and now it's in our ender chest. So what happened was the retrievulator is looking in this ender chest for a red wool panel. Because it doesn't see one, it's going to request the retriever to go out and find me a BT battery. Since it will never get a piece of red wool in here, and if we give it one, we can see it reset itself. There, it just reset. And if I take the red wool panel back out, you'll see that it will send this thing back into the retriever. Okay, so that's how we're going to build our power plant on the bottom. Hopefully that made a little bit of sense to you. We're going to have our retrievulator and sorting machine set up down here on the bottom. Is going to actually take empties and recharge them and put them back in the chest. Now we're going to head up to our airship and we're going to build the opposite up there. Now if you remember from the last episodes, I had a box up here and some wire, and it came down like this and connected on both sides. We're actually going to change that, and we're going to actually set this up in the back, and I'll explain why. Because what we're going to do, in the next episode after this one, we're going to remove all this stuff. We're going to put a drill bit coming down here, and our cockpit, if you can see this down in the bottom corner, is going to kind of be over here. So we want to actually have we want to have room over here for what we're going to do. So we're going to take some red power support frames. We're going to build some support structures. And kind of our cockpit area is going to be like right about here. And it's going to come maybe out like this. We want to have a viewing window so we can see what the drill bit's doing. We can see if we accidentally uncovered someone's hidden rebel base. And our battery power is actually now going to connect in the back. Instead of on the top, it'll connect in the back here. So I'm going to take red power tube frames. You can see that. Just remember, a red power tube inside of a support frame. And it it behaves exactly like you'd expect. And I'm going to put a little bracket like that. Put one on this side. Put one on this side. And then what we need to do is put our ender chest, our battery ender chest here. And remember, we're going to do, let's see, a sorting machine. And this sorting machine is actually going to pull charged batteries out and put them into the bottom of another battery box. Because if you remember, if we want to recharge our system, the battery has to come into the bottom slot. Now battery boxes work that if you insert something on the top, it comes into the top slot, and if you go into the bottom, it comes into the bottom slot. Now the battery in the bottom slot is going to, remember, look at this arrow, it's going to charge the battery box, which is then going to charge all of our engines. So we have these red power tube frames, and you can see that. Try and fly here. It connected. The red power tube frame is now actually connected to the bottom of our BT box. So we just need to set up our cycling system up in the sky here, and we're going to put some red power, just red power pneumatic tube. It's actually, I think, just called pneumatic tube. Yep. Set our sorting machine up to pull fresh batteries out of this ender chest. Let's put some empty batteries. You can see they're immediately going to get sucked out, and if you can see really far away, way down here, we just saw one get sucked into the thing, into the battery, and then it's going to be put far away. And remind me to go over chunk loaders if you don't know how those work. I'll go back and do that in a second, so we make sure that that's always chunk loaded. Alright, so that side is fine. Now what we need to do on this side is set up our retrievulator setup. We're going to put this one in a little bit so we have access to it. The other one's going to be kind of walled off later. We're going to do a retriever. Oh, I'm sorry, a retrievulator, then a retriever, and then pneumatic tube, just like that. Exactly mirror image almost of the other side there. This one is going to be pulling out empty batteries, and we're going to trick it again and say just basically keep pulling them out until there's a red wool panel in there. And so this would actually work right now, but we don't have any power, so I'm going to steal a battery out of there, and I'm going to put it in this battery box. See, the battery's going to drain, fill the battery box up, and now there's going to be an empty Bluetricity battery in the battery box. So now the only thing we have to do is wire in power to those machines so that they can actually work and cycle the batteries for us. To do this, I need panels, and what I'm going to do, step one, because I removed the battery box from up top, I'm actually going to wire in the engines down here on the bottom, so that now if you follow this whole path of cable, it connects all to all of our engines and make sure that they all stay charged. We don't want to get an engine dead in the water. That would kind of stink. And the same thing on this side, the cable, whoa, should have connected, except for that got broken. Connects now to all of our engines on this side. Now we just need to connect our cycling machine. So to do that, we are going to, you don't need to be this anal, but I like everything to be perfectly symmetrical. So in order to do symmetry on this, you have to go, if you see, if I try and do these on separate sides, it won't work. So you have to go one side, middle, side, and now it'll let you do it. I don't really know why, but that's the way that LRM likes to roll. And since she makes an awesome mod, we will roll with it. Now I'm just, remember, putting panels, and you can see that they're panels by those little diamonds in the corner. And we're going to just wire power in just like that. And now our retriever is going to get powered up. We're going to actually, we can probably see him request that dud battery out of this guy. Oh, there it goes. So our dead battery is going to go out. It's going to get pumped in. It already happened. Sorry we missed it. It's going to get recharged. You see that on this side? We already pumped in a fresh battery. That's going to get sucked out again. And we should see it in a moment. As soon as the other one gets recharged, we don't need to wait for it. Oh, it's nighttime. That's probably not going to help. But our battery will get recharged. It'll get automatically injected into the bottom of our battery box. And we can actually spool a few up. There it goes. Ta-da! And so basically we're going to have this onboard battery storage. Look, you can see it's getting, it pulled the other one out. It's going to recharge it. We'll put a couple in there so that it can keep a bunch of them all charged all at the same time, so we don't have to wait. And there we go. Here comes another battery. You can watch it pop right in and fill our battery box. Now the advantage of this is these engines can go for a while on this charge right here. So we're not going to be hitting situations where this thing can't keep up, because as soon as it dips below in the battery box, it's going to recharge it. So it'll keep it going. Now I did just build a whole bunch of stuff, and I did not move my ship, so I might have a problem here. I feel like everything is connected, mostly because I've already built this before. But let's just test it. Let's move right one time and make sure, well, yeah, we can definitely move because I just fell off. Now go back and make sure nothing shifted. Make sure everything was connected properly. All our wiring is still intact. Everything is still intact. Good. So now we have a power plant down there that recharges all of our Bluetooth, oh my goodness, Bluetricity batteries, and we got one on board the ship here. So then the only other thing is, I was talking about chunk loading, and there are two options in Feed the Beast. I forget if there's two options in Tech It Light. There's a dimensional anchor in Tech It Light. Use that, definitely. Just slap it down. Again, check your chunk. Remember, your chunk is a 16 by 16 square, and you can see it by those red lines, right? So what we need to do is we need to just put a chunk loader anywhere inside this chunk, anywhere in this area here. Actually, we could technically put it on top of any of these batteries or even on the system. It just has to reside somewhere in this chunk here, and it will force that chunk to be loaded. Now, if you're in Feed the Beast Ultimate, the world anchors that are available from Railcraft require ender pearls. They kind of stink, but the chunk loader from Chicken Chunks is fine. So we're going to say radius 1 chunk, and if we show the lasers here, we can see what it's doing. And this is the chunk that it's actually going to load. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. Hide lasers. And now if we go and build a ship in the Nether, it will actually still work because the batteries are getting recharged. The chunk is still loaded. Okay, so there you go. If you get stuck, like if your ship doesn't fly, if you try and go up and you get stuck, something probably got in the way, and ours didn't. But there's an episode 3.5, which is kind of between this one and the last one, that goes into some troubleshooting tips of how to solve those problems. All right, so now at this point we technically have a kind of bootleg. I mean, it looks really gross, but it's a perfectly mobile airship. We can fly it around as long as we want. We can move forward 20 times, and if we have the patience to sit and wait for the thing to move forward 20 times, we'll notice that, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Our system's going to keep charging. You can see it's going to like slowly drain this battery, and as soon as that battery gets too far drained, it'll cycle it out and recharge the whole thing entirely. So there you go. Now we have the ability to have a mobile airship that will supply forever. So you can fly this thing underwater if you were that anal. If you felt like dealing with water all the time, you could fly it underground if you're going to put a giant drill bit on the front and just go around bombing around at level 20 and digging out all the fat loot. But anyway, you have a perfectly mobile ship. If you need the Computercraft code, it is in the description below. There's a link to a single post that has like all these videos, all the files that you'll need, all that stuff. So make sure to check it out. Episode 5, I think we're going to maybe either frame this out or put some touchscreen, maybe a little bit of both, get that drill bit going, get some touchscreen Computercraft so we don't have to actually go into this monitor all the time and type things. We'll just be able to spam buttons on Computercraft monitors. It should be pretty cool. So, alright, guys, thanks for watching episode 4 where you took your thing and powered it up. And thanks for watching, and stay poor.